All right. So where are you hailing from?
Hello. Um, well, like right in this moment,
Yeah. What are we looking at?
you're looking at the amazing Wolf Island, it's called, which is the Haudenosaunee Confederation. So like 5 different tribes. I think it was the Onondaga people that were here a long time ago, but it's my ancestors. So this old house here that my great grandmother was born here,
Oh
and
my God.
yeah, and so I feel really blessed because most of my relatives are all American, and
Uh-huh.
I'm in Canada, in Ontario, and they can't be here because of COVID. And I found myself a bit homeless during COVID, and so I just came here for a month to. It's usually like not open this late because it's like not winterized. So I'm just here for a month, hoping that the weather doesn't freeze me, and like working on music and stuff. And so,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So you're not Canadian, then
I am Canadian. Yep.
you are Canadian. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
most of your family you said is American.
Yes, most of my family is American. Yeah. Yeah, my great grandmother, her family, they were American, but they were given land in Canada. They were loyalists, I guess, to the Queen, like back in the day. Um, and so they were given land here. But yeah, my parents are from the United States, but they met in Canada when I was like, when they were in their 20s separately. They were in Canada for different reasons. And so my whole family was brought up in Canada, and I'm Canadian, but like I have American ancestors, so I'm kind of mixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. It's funny, my brother is actually in Canada right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I can't see him until further notice. He wants to
Oh, yeah.
a resident there.
Oh, totally. What part of Canada?
Vancouver. So
Oh,
I'm in
nice. Yeah.
Washington. He's like 2 hours away. But
Oh.
yeah. But I can't see him. It's pretty
Well,
funny.
you know what you can do? I don't
Have
know.
like the little picnic.
It's distracting. Yeah, for the topic, but it is actually a really good story. I'll try to make it really quick. You can go to that park, and I crossed the border actually, and I was like, "What are all these tents?" I'm like, "What is going on?" Because I was the only car in the whole border crossing lineup, and I was like, "What is going on?" As these people, they get turned away, or they're like homeless, or they're kind of like refugees, sort of like they don't. They're staying there, and I asked the border guard, and they're people having sex. They're couples that are cross-border couples, and they are allowed to go visit for a day. And he's like, we just leave them alone, let their emotions run wild. And I was like, that's so cute.
Oh my gosh, I love that. What's that called in conjugal visits?
Yes, it's a conjugal visit. I guess you can have a whole day's worth of conjugal visiting.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's
Very
great.
romantic and sweet.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
I almost crossed the border by accident when we were staying in Blaine, Washington once.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like sort of wandering around. I didn't realize we were so close to the border. And I came back and they were like, oh yeah, if you had gone a little further, border patrol would have come. Like,
Oh, hilarious.
there's no signs. Like,
Yeah.
people just
It's
have
pretty
to know.
chill. It's pretty chill.
Yeah. So
You're in Washington. Cool.
what's that?
You're in Washington.
Yeah. I moved here in December.
Okay.
I really like it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I feel like everything is new with you. Are we calling you Bachan or Madeline?
You can call me Bachan still.
Okay.
I mean, either one, but I use both, and I have for a long time, so nothing's really changed there. But most of like the musical world knows me as Bachan, and most people call me Bachan, but my family calls me Madeline, and I love Madeline and everything. It's all good.
So when you release music, you still release it as Bachan?
Yes. Yep. It's under Bachan Core. But I am definitely having contemplations about things now. With everything happening with 3HO. Whether I feel okay about doing that anymore, I'm not sure. So I'm kind of, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always wanted to have another artist name for other art that I do, but it's, you know, as an artist, once your name's kind of out there, that's how people find you. And so I don't really know if it's worth the hassle, to be honest. And it's okay. Like, I can find peace in it all, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know if we want to talk about that now or not, but that's
Yeah. Well, whatever you want to talk about. I mean, I don't have an agenda. I just thought it would be fun for people to hear what you're up to and
yeah.
get to know you in this way. That was my idea for the podcast in the beginning, because I would have these really cool conversations with, you know, other musicians at festivals or like, you know, backstage or whatever. And
Yep.
it's like, these are such great conversations, and it's not the kind of stuff that people will talk about between songs, you know.
Yeah.
So I just felt like people would be interested in hearing it, and it seems like they are. So
Cool.
yeah, we can talk about whatever you want. I've been going through the name change kind of dilemma thing. Mine, I'm kind of over the idea of like people not being able to find me. I'm like, people will find me. Somebody told me that too, and I was like, yeah, people will find me. The thing that I'm about to release something under Sirgun Kaur because I have someone that I collaborate with, and I was like, you know, it's really not fair to you if I use my, you know, the name that nobody knows me as yet.
Yes.
Because you're collaborating with me because
Right.
I have a following. So I'll use that name when I collaborate with you until you know, until people start catching on.
Yep.
That's kind of what I'm doing. But yeah, it's a big decision.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is a big decision. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's like I've never made music with the intention of it being like how I made a living or how anything like that. And so in some sense it really doesn't matter, the thing of losing your reach because of your name changing and people basically not really finding your new music. But at the same time, I also feel the blessing of like it being able to find more people, and if that like umbrella and veins and avenues are all like open already, then it's sort of like allows it to flow more or something.
Yeah. And you have two artist names anyway, right? Because you have like Bachan Kaur and Bachan, or at least you did when I
By accident.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to just have it as Bachan, but then my other things, I don't know, it was just something in the process was Bachan Kaur. So then I was like, I just have to make a choice here. Same thing of like just choosing something. And at that time, I think I chose that as a combination of, because for me, like the name means Princess of Promise. That was the literal translation that I got. And I really feel it in the full name, like Bachan Kaur, and it feels like my, I want to say duty, but that's not the right word, but it's like this, it's like being this mouthpiece of promise for the people. And somehow that the car part like put it in that place of like my role sort of, and so I felt good about that. And then I also felt like then people, you know, that were looking through for music through yoga, they could more easily identify with that, versus Bachan could get like much more lost because there's so many Bachans and it's a whole nother world of music and genre and everything. So anyhow, yeah, but I do have releases under both, and yeah it matters and it doesn't. But it is a big choice, and I try not to like think about it too much, but it's a real thing, you know, and our names and yeah. But I did feel, because I've always released or not always, but I have released music very true to my heart and very in different genres and different ways. And for a while I was like, can this still be Bachan Kaur? Because it's not Kundalini yoga music, and it's not whatever. And I'm like, yes, this is me as the Princess of Promise. This is what I do. Like,
Right.
and that feels more liberating, hopefully, to others as well, that it's like not about Kundalini yoga or anything, just soulful sounds and songs of the heart. And so I don't know, but yeah, I don't know what I will do next. Right now I'm just waiting.
Yeah. Have you been recording? Because you said you've been using it as your little music hub, this ancestral home.
Yeah, so I just got here, and my computer died as soon as I got here, so I'm on a borrowed laptop. Oh yeah, it does say my name. I was gonna say I'm probably under my cousin's name, but yeah, so I am I have my computer is filled with many albums in the works, and they've been in the works for many years. It's kind of like how I work. There's always lots, and like every day there's new songs, and I'm kind of sometimes like, go away, I need to deal with all the other ones. And so kind of this time right now, I'm splitting between editing music. I just got my new computer, just came in the mail today, hallelujah. So yeah, I will be diving into editing basically kind of older music, but that's been waiting for me. And I've been off grid a lot and out of power for many months, so now I'm gonna dive into editing world. And then yeah, and I'm kind of contemplating recording a really lo-fi country album while I'm here, because I have a lot of these like whole other genre of songs that they're just there. I don't know what they are, and they just come to me, and I'm like, I want to do something with them. So I think I'll just do like a really simple, little project along the side of the more complicated things I'm working on.
Cool. Well, it's nice that your music didn't get lost. When you said that at first, I was like, oh no, did it?
Oh, I know. Well, some of it did, some of the recent stuff, but not all the way, just like edits. I just have to redo stuff.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
I lost my phone last year. Like right after we went on this trip, I went on this big European trip, and my phone just, and I lost everything on my phone. I was like, well, I guess I didn't need it. But it's nice that we'll get to hear your music. I'm glad about that.
Yeah, it's wild. I just today, my really good friends, they lost their homes in Oregon just now. And
because of the fires.
Yeah. And like stuff like that, right? It's like, oof. Yeah.
I feel like I was thinking about this with the virus, and with, things being, it's almost like, when you have like a snow day or like a sick day or something, where it's like an occasion where you let yourself off the hook.
Yes.
Or you could, depending on your personality, I guess. But I feel like this whole period is just sort of this period where we all get to go like, all right, I can't maintain this, what would be the word, this like unrealistic, lifestyle. Like I can't maintain this anymore, and it's so obvious now, and I get to maybe lean on other people for support, and I get to see, other things that are out there besides like, I don't know, everyone out for themselves and like drive
forward. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it really is. And seeing that part of ourselves, like, I'm curious what you're like, but I don't know, I can't help it. And like I said, I wish I could turn it off sometimes, but like as a whoever I am, there's like constant flow of creativity that has like a forward momentum to it, and like this drive and desire to get out into the world and to be shared, and it's like these things, and I feel responsible for that energy, and I like want to caretake it and put it out into the world, and I'm driven by it. and then at the same time it doesn't belong to me. It's just happening, and I actually spend a lot of time, and I spend a lot even more time now not doing that, and just kind of being and letting, like, kind of the Tibetan Zen mandala, like working on things that don't have a form and a product, and are just songs in the wind, and things, and yeah, just watching that part of us that like needs to to do and create and progress and move forward, and it's healthy and great and feels exciting, and it does make a difference, and it reaches people and everything, and so I'm aware of that, and I like love it and want to do it, but I also am like, okay, take a chill pill, it's all right.
Yeah, I think that I think on a subtler level too, though, like even those kinds of creations, the ones that people don't end up seeing, are affecting the collective,
Yeah.
So, but that, I mean, I've always really loved your artwork too. So are you like doing a lot of that as well along with the music, or?
Thank you. Yeah, that's actually what I'm doing mostly right now. Like, I feel responsible to my music, and I've got to like take care of it, and I do really, really love it. But I really love painting, and I always did as a young person, and I kind of put it on hold quite a bit when I focused on music a lot, because I felt like music was like my spiritual calling,
Mm-hmm.
and I took that to heart, and I gave a lot of my energy to it, and constructed my lifestyle around it, and it wasn't very conducive to painting, and it's not a big money making thing, and so I just kind of, it was sort of on pause, but always with this like prayer for it, that like one day I would be financially and earthly stable and flowing enough to then like get back to painting just for painting's sake. And I'm starting to get there, and I'm like starting to paint more, and it feels so good. Like, that's actually mostly what I'm doing here, is painting, and then I work online also with teenagers, like as a teacher, kind of consultant person.
Oh,
And
neat.
yeah, and so I'm kind of merging between those things of like work wise, of like painting and music, and working with young people. And yeah, I just love painting very much, and I want to do more and more of it, and I'm really the plan for this year was to find and like build and start my art and music studio in my like simple, humble home situation, but it's not quite there yet with everything happening. But that's really like what brings me so much peace and joy, and I just like, I'm so excited to one day actually have like a studio where I don't have to put everything away, and I can come back to it, and I can paint big things, and I can paint little things, and yeah, it's a worship, of life. I love it.
Aw. Do you still sell artwork through your website?
I will be. I haven't been focusing on it, and people ask, and I mostly give it away, to be honest. Most of the art I'm making right now, because it's watercolors, which I kind of shifted into because of travel, and so they're small things, and I've mostly just been like giving them making them for people as I've been moving around and stuff. But I am going to start a store where I'm gonna like properly document and scan everything, so I can sell them, just like both originals I mostly sell to people, and I do that still, but also online I want to sell just like prints and cards and simple things, and just like in an easy way, like through where they can print on demand, so I don't have to have all the stock. Like, I used to do that and
Right.
have stock of all this stuff, but it's just hard, and like traveling around and everything, and so I'll just kind of join with one of those online stores where people can buy whatever they want to if they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I will sell originals as I make more and more stuff, but that seems to go to either gifts or people in person that I know, and they're like, I want that, and then it's for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so I ended up with this, the cover of Joni Mitchell's first album, Song to a Seagull. And I think she gave that away to somebody, and they ended up auctioning it. My dad bought it for like a couple $100 at some auction way. And I'm just thinking about it because it's so amazing, and I'm sure that this will happen to you because your paintings are just gorgeous. But I ended up being able to sell this thing for an absurd amount of money considering what my dad bought it for. It wasn't that I wanted to get rid of it, but I felt like I had enjoyed it enough.
Yeah.
And I was getting a divorce, and it was like the reason that I was able to, to do it. Like
what a gift.
And what was so beautiful about it is that it went to this woman who had a pregnancy that she put up for adoption. She put the child up for her son up for adoption that same year that Joni Mitchell released that album. And that was also Joni Mitchell's story, where she had a baby and she gave up the baby. And so it went to this woman who was
oh my God,
for her son. She was going to leave it to him in her will. I was just like, how perfect is this? Like, it was just the most, it helped, it's like everybody was touched by this piece of art.
Wow.
So anyway,
wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. How did you find the woman? Or she find you or whatever?
So Joni Mitchell, I don't think has an official website. The JoniMitchell.com is run by someone else.
Okay.
And he has this whole community of people who are art collectors, some of them for her works, because you don't get put up for sale very often, I guess.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful story. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope that'd be kind of, it's very beautiful. Painting and art, and what I was kind of thinking, but I don't even know how to say it, is that like I hope that somehow the paintings could like make a lot of money now to pay people like my friends that just lost their homes, like I wish somehow I could just be like, here, have this thousands of dollars,
right
one day.
Yeah. Well, and I was also thinking about that too, that so many of the painters that we, revere now, like in their times, their paintings were valueless, and now they are worth millions. It's a crazy phenomenon, the appreciation that we don't have while they're living.
I know. It's kind of comical, but understandable. I mean, people don't have, like, it's only really wealthy people that can do that, and most people, they appreciate art, but you can't pay for it. Like, you gotta pay for your groceries and like your kids' school and like important stuff. Not that art's not important, but like it just makes sense. And then it's the people that have like a lot of money that can, because they're buying it as like either something really meaningful, like your friend, that woman's case, but more often not like status or whatever. I don't know. Anyhow, so
and I'm reading a book about Mary Magdalene right now. It's so fascinating. The third one, it's like a fiction that's based on the secret society heritage.
What's it called? I might have read it.
So the first one's The Expected One.
Yeah.
Did you read that trilogy?
So good. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good. So I was listening to.
Although I don't know if I read all three. I think I just read the first two.
Oh, okay. So the last one's called The Poet Prince, and that's what I'm on. And it's about the Medici. But anyway, they were huge patrons of the arts, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, how like people who had a ton of money, and it might have been for status reasons, or they might have had some other reason, but they would, they commissioned all these amazing arts, but like other people got to enjoy them. It wasn't just
Yep.
necessarily for their like private collections.
Yeah, that's true.
It'd be really cool if people did that.
I know. And some do, you know, it's
Yeah.
absolutely, some people totally do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so curious about your work with teenagers. How did you get into doing that?
Oh, well, so to be honest, as a musician, as I'm sure you know, it's a challenging path, especially financially. And also, I mean, I don't know how like personal to get on this. I'm like, I want to talk to you about your divorce. Oh my God. But like as a
I'm
single
pretty, I think I probably said it already, so you can feel free to.
well, as a single woman,
Yeah.
you know, it's also very challenging, period, but definitely to make a living as an artist is a whole journey. And so I'm very committed to that path. And I was like, I need to do something else for money so that I can really be true to my prayer and my heart of my art and not start to get into the like, what do I have to do to make money situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to go to back to school, and I got my master's in art education because I love art. And I was like, and it was actually a way for me as an artist to focus on painting. It was amazing. But and then I realized this isn't totally practical, because mostly as like with your master's in art education, you can like work at a university, which there are less of. And I was like, I think I'm just going to get my teaching degree, my like normal thing. And so I did, and I got my teacher's degree, and I knew I probably wouldn't do great in the school system, but I was like, it's just a good option to have, and it could be a way I could work part-time maybe and like make enough money. It's an integrity with myself, and it would feel okay. And so I tried that for a while. I was a substitute teacher. I stopped traveling around as much, and I lived in one place, and I like was teaching in the school system on Vancouver Island, and it was so hard. Like, I have such respect for teachers, and I could do it, which was empowering and like beautiful, and I learned so much, and it's so humbling and like sweet in so many ways. But I didn't have time to do music and art, and it like killed me. Like, I literally got so depressed, and I was just like I just didn't feel good. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. And I had like more money than I've ever had in my life. And I was like, but I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. And not at all that it was a lot of money, but it was like normal people money, not like traveling, whirling dervish living off celery money. And, so then what? Oh, but then, part of what made me get the teaching degree was I had some friends in my master's program that their siblings worked at this thing called Self-Design, which is like an online school basically for kind of like homeschool oriented people or families, or people that just don't fit well in the system for whatever reason, or they want to design their own kind of schooling. And so it's kindergarten to grade 12, and I applied. And so for the past 2 years, this is my second year, I've been working just part-time with this through this school. It's just an independent school, and you work one-on-one with learners, and that's what I found I really liked. Like, I had a counseling gig for a while in the high schools, and that felt really good, like more one-on-one, like human personal stuff, and less content, because I'm not like a content teacher person. And yeah, so that's kind of what I do now. I work one-on-one with teens, and just supporting them getting through their high school curriculum that is all online, and they have like other kind of more teacherly people, and I'm more of a learning consultant, I'm called. And so I support them, and really what I feel like I do, I'm like their cheerleader, you know, and I help them like see themselves and reflect. It's kind of like being a life coach almost for teens, you know, but also really doing a lot of like practical kind of paperworky, ticking all the boxes of like what you need to do to get through high school. So yeah, it's a real gift. Like, I feel so fortunate, especially right now, to be able to be working part-time online and doing something that like feels good to my heart and feels in alignment with like things I care about and supporting young people's creativity and stuff. So that's a real gift. It's awesome.
That's so cool. And
Yeah.
are they all based in Canada?
Yeah, this school is, and I'm sure there are all kinds of other things, but the school I work for it's in British Columbia specifically. So it's
Okay.
like a British Columbian independent school called
That's
Self
so
Design.
cool. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Did it used to be always online, or was there like a hub before coronavirus, or?
No, I think it's always been an online school, but they do have like in-person things. Like they have camps. They're actually about to have a music camp, which
Oh,
will be online. But they used to have like 4 or 5 camps throughout the year that learners from all over the province could gather together and like go to and stuff. And like also things, I have a feeling it was started because I was talking to some of the kind of old timer people in the organization, and I think it was started like super grassroots, like a bunch of friends in a yurt kind of situation, probably like, and now it's a lot bigger. But yeah, and I think they used to have like big gatherings and like really delve into the philosophy and all this stuff because it's a little bit, I don't want to say Waldorfy, but in a way that it has its own sort of like philosophy about
mhm.
learning and about like the spiral of learning and development and that kind of stuff, which is like in it and not in it. It's also just kind of pretty basic too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I've noticed that if you want to be legitimate, you sort of have to have like your own words and your
Yeah.
own, like your own diagrams and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting.
It is. Do you do any teaching stuff?
Well, so I got into kind of a similar thing, not for teenagers. That's like heroes work. Like, good for you.
Oh,
I
teenagers are
barely
cute.
survived being a teenager.
Yeah.
No, I got into coaching. So
Okay.
I do like life, spiritual life coaching. I've done it in my own program, and then with another person. I think I'm kind of phasing out of that, and I might be doing my own thing again. But yeah, it was sort of a similar realization. It's like, I don't want to put the financial pressure on my creativity.
Yeah.
I would rather, and also just the valuation of it. I was actually talking to another visual artist yesterday. I was saying like, it's so amazing to me how like with a piece of art you can be like, that's worth $5,000 or that's worth $5, but it's
Yeah.
like this CD, no, this CD is worth $15. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't it doesn't matter how much money I spent on it or time I put into
No.
it. um, so I mean, obviously there's other ways to make money as a musician, but I just didn't like the idea that I was starting to look at my music as like a revenue generating thing. Like I just kind of wanted it to sustain itself.
Yeah, and just make from your,
Yeah.
just make and see what happens.
Yeah. And if it, I'm totally happy for it to make tons of money, but I didn't want to do it for that.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so the coaching seemed like a good thing. And I mean, now it's great. I'm sure you're feeling the same way. Like everything's online anyway. So
Yeah, I know. I
yeah,
feel fortunate. That's for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
nice transition.
As long as you have power and internet, which is
Yes, and a computer.
sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, and a computer. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you mind talking about like how you're kind of processing? Because I know a lot of people have reached out to me after listening to my podcast, and they've been like, and I didn't realize this because I didn't mean to kind of help people process their Kundalini yoga trauma,
Yeah.
but I guess it's kind of helpful for people to listen to, how we're
So
kind
good.
of digesting the information and how it's affected you or
Absolutely.
yeah.
So just dive in. Is there any specific thing you want to know? Or
No, Well, whatever, you know, like what's going on in your mind around all of this, I guess.
Well, um, yeah, I feel like with many, I think probably with everyone, but I'll just speak for myself. It's a evolutionary and ever-changing experience, you know, and with it, as it is like with any kind of loss and real like hard thing that you go through in life. And when I first found out, I was actually teaching at a retreat in Guatemala, and um, and personally myself, as a human, I practice a lot of things and have for a long time, and always had a very universal and mystical heart-based approach to life and to God and to nature and to people and religions and all the things. Um, and then my actual practice has been evolving for many years of, and includes many things and isn't very rigid, or very Kundalini yoga contained. And I've felt not myself in that container for like a long time, and I've done my own thing kind of, but always appreciated and enjoyed both the effects of Kundalini yoga on my own like being, but more than anything of the actual like friendships and the love energy created through the gatherings that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
And those I've cherished, and I will forever. But all that to say, when I heard about, um, basically, I guess the when Pamela released her book, which I haven't read the book yet,
Mm-hmm.
and when that happened, I was offline and off grid in Guatemala for 2 months, teaching actually at a retreat, a sound healing retreat. And they had asked me to teach Kundalini yoga specifically, and I was kind of like, okay, cool. It's not my main thing that I do, but I'll be happy to like pass that on and share it. And so we had like a very fun, playful, beautiful sadhana together and everything. And when the news kind of came out, I and us were in such a like universal, divine space of practicing like many practices from many traditions and many sounds and sacred, um, music, um, as well as like working with cacao from the earth and like many things. And so when it happened, at first I was like, you know, it didn't affect, my experience of the yoga itself at
Mm-hmm.
first. I was like, that's, I was not surprised because I'd always figured there was something weird going on. Um, but I was also, and I also never had Yogi Bhajan as like a guru or like a person that I worshiped or like whatever. So that
Mm-hmm.
part was like kind of not that intense at first. And I right away told the people I was with, like, this is happening in our community, and all of these, stories are coming out of sexual abuse and of power abuse and the financial abuse and all kinds of things coming out. And these are people just starting Kundalini yoga for their first time, you know. And I was like, I want you to know about this. And really, like, the whole time already, it was like just about their experience and everything as an experiment. Like, I feel like that's what we are as yogis, you know. We're like experimenting with everything and seeing what it does. And so at first I was just kind of like, okay, and then I'll deal with this when I get back into the internet, because I wasn't able to like really read stuff. It was just kind of the internal feeling. And I was like, this is just a purification, like it is on the entire planet, of all of the shit that's been going on and the imbalance with the masculine and the feminine energy of the planet and how we don't understand it still. And we've basically been raping the earth and raping all this stuff, and all about all the religions and like the divine feminine. And this is part of that unveiling and part of that healing and part of that coming to terms within all of our structures and all of our institutions and all of our belief systems. And it's part of our purification and learning curve, was like how I first felt about it. And so I was very actually happy kind of that it was all coming out, but very sad for the people involved, but like happy that we're going to let go of all the false things that are not true and are keeping people away from their power and from their innate perfection and beauty and everything. And also just within the yoga, like in our community, kind of clearing things like the phoenix, you know. But then when I got online and I started to read the actual stories, then it was like a whole nother level. And then I couldn't as neutrally relate to the practices themselves anymore. Like I started to practice and I just felt like gross and like angry and upset and like yucky and not sure. Like I was like, let me just experiment. Like, can I still chant Om Namo Gurudev Namo and like feel okay? And I still do. I'm experimenting with it all. And what do I want to say? I guess different things, but two things that I want to make sure not forget is talking about like the actual essence of our relationship with tools, with spiritual tools, and what that is, and then the how do we deal with what's happened that's wrong on the earth. And I've always been confused since I've been a little kid of like, what is evil on the earth? And like, how can anything be evil if everything's God and everything's divine? And like, I would think about like people making really powerful, horrible decisions in the world that affected a lot of people. So like as a young person and thinking about like politicians, let's say as a most specific example. And I was like, how can they sleep at night? And what is happening? Like what's happening inside of them? Because they're God and everything is God and everything is one. And so there's not really an evil, and it's like this confusing thing. And I still grapple with it. And with Yogi Bhajan as an example, it's like, but that's not okay. Like regardless of whether, it's never okay. And all of the racism and all of the sexual abuse and all of the power abuse and all of the killing of indigenous people all over the world and claiming our belief systems, one belief system is better than another, and taking advantage of the earth and like all these things, they're not okay. And maybe they're still God, whatever force is moving that thing, but like we have to change it. And so how do we have like that consciousness of oneness and compassion and kindness, yet like change the course of how we evolve and like stop doing the shit that is hurting us and that is hurting each other and that is living off the false thing that one person is better than another or one gender is better than another and able to take advantage of someone. And I don't know, because I do have compassion. It's like easy, I think, in some ways for people to fall into weird power things and things that they go into, but it's never an excuse. And like the same when like we have a lot of trauma in our background, it can be very understandable why we behave in certain ways, but it's never an excuse. Still, it's still not okay. And so but I still don't know how to deal with it. Like, how do you make it clear that it's not okay, and how do you stop it and heal it and make it better? And I think all is just like, we all have our own ways to do that, and we have our own ways to do it inside of ourselves and for the people around us that we care about. And like for some people, the world at large, like that's their main calling, you know, to like really do some big moves and stuff. But yeah, it's a really big, it's a challenging dance to like have the discernment and strength and warrior like spirit to like stop things, and then also have the like oneness and the harmoniousness and the kindness and the healing, and not like anger and judgment and everything. And the reality though is that they're all okay, and there's many layers. And so I guess personally I'm finding I'm going through many layers, and I'm just like letting it be like that. And I just feel a lot of compassion. And the biggest thing has been like grief for people, all people. I mean, losing anything is hard slash liberating. And losing your faith in like a spiritual, anything that gave you comfort before, to have that betrayal and like that become not something you can reach to anymore for a source of solace and like um, wholeness, is very sad. It's very sad. And so I feel really sad for us as a community, for individuals within that community in the different ways they were involved personally or impersonally with things. And yeah, it's sad. I'm sad solstices, like those are some of the highest, most beautiful moments of my life have been at solstices, you know. And yeah, it's you know, and it's also not uncommon. It's happened in almost every, in its own ways, in every spiritual tradition, and it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the part I'm excited about. I'm like, well, we better be freaking figuring out something new, you know. But it's like, whew, yeah. So I don't know.
I love what you said too about the essence of our relationship. I take notes. The essence of our relationship with spiritual tools. I mean, I think that just speaks volumes in terms of what you just said. Like, yes, it's lovely to have something that you can lean to for comfort and solace. At the same time, it's illusory.
Yeah.
And when it's taken away, you find out you're all you're left with anyway. So you better get comfy in that.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And that's what is exciting. You know, it's exciting, and I have been guided for a long time to think about that. It was actually when my mom died. That's what first made me like, am I like kind of needing to have all these practices and all this stuff to like be okay? And are they just another form of like escaping the suffering of being a human, you know? And then started to practice a lot more the acceptance of our suffering and the acceptance of what is, and less like trying to transform the energy and like everything. And it's like a whole mixture of all of that. And I just, yeah, it's scary for all of us, I think, in our own ways, not to have anything to hold on to, and to have like things become very opposite of what you think they are, is a very disorienting experience. And but at the same time, it's very unifying and liberating, because it really shows us exactly what you said, that all you have is you know, and all we have is us and this. And you know, when I go down that route, sometimes I'm like, I don't even need to do anything, like really kind of any practice. And then I'm like, well, what do I want to do though? Like, what do I like doing? And that's what I do. Like, and that's what I have done for a long time. And you kind of, it's like learning what things bring us joy, you know, and but then it's being having the awareness, because anything can become like a ritual or become a habit, and some things are good to be have as habits and good to have as rituals. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it's something I think a lot about, and I don't like think a lot about it, but I experiment with. And yeah, but sound, as a sound person, and you, hello little one.
I've been muting. They keep coming in and out.
Aw. Hi. Who's that?
That's Prembayant. That's did you meet my youngest?
I don't think I ever did.
No. Okay. Yeah. I think
Maybe
the last time I saw you, I may not have, or maybe I was pregnant. But
maybe. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Her name.
Prembayant.
Oh, that is Prembayant. Okay.
Yeah, he's
That's
Prembayant. The older one is Amrit Uncher. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they both have no choice. Those are their names.
That's their names. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I remember actually the last time I saw you was at Harpal's house, and I can't remember if it was the visit where you had completed the hummingbird mural or if it was the one after.
Oh, that Harpal. I was like, Harpal in New Mexico. Okay.
No, yeah, the one in Phoenix. And I remember you saying something about how you were more interested in I can't remember the exact words, but something like you were interested in the divine feminine, that there wasn't a lot of like femininity in Sikhism, and I remembered it was interesting. I remembered like knowing what you were talking about and feeling that too, but like I just hadn't gotten what I needed to, I think, from that experience yet. And I was like, surely there must be, something like, because I remember one of the catchphrases, or like the responses to that was like, well, who do you think gave birth to all the gurus?
Yeah, it's like,
and I'm like, yes, but no one ever talks about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are the exalted invisibles.
Yeah. Like, oh, majorly.
Yeah.
I was always, I couldn't surrender to that whole world and life view. Like, thank God I was raised by kind of a feminist, and she like couldn't handle the church, and so
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And Mary Magdalene, right? Like, and that's my name, Madeline. Like, that's where she comes from. And yeah, that's what's happening. One of the many things, but that's an essential thing that I feel is happening right now is we're being asked to look at the way of, however you want to call it, but like the she and the nature, and the mother and the feminine energy. And yeah, and that's like, for me, brings so much. I'm never turned away. When I relate to the divine as feminine, I'm like, why don't I do that all the time? And then I'm like, everything's always all right. Like, you just go and connect with nature, and it's like, oh my God, it's perfect. You're perfect. Like, it's such an embrace. Whereas the feeling like I have to change something and I have to do something in order to be like something, and this whole, like, even the upward energy of like the Kundalini and all of this stuff, it's like, yeah, that's for a long time been a journey of mine of like, and that's what that mural is about, right? It's like unifying the earth and the heavens and the divine feminine and masculine, and that it, and and there's talk about it in Kundalini yoga, but the way it unfolded into like human reality was kind of bonkers. And I remember going to New Mexico for my first time, when I first was just like having all these internal like amazing experiences, and then go down there and I like saw the way the culture like had unfolded, and I was like, this is so weird. I'm like, this is not what, but I was like, the experiences I had through the yoga itself and through the sound current and through the community was so sublime and beautiful that I was like, okay, well, I'm just not really going to engage in this, and I'm just going to be me, but I'm going to receive the blessing of what's inside this container. And so that's kind of what I've been doing forever. But now it's like become to the point of like, geez, like we have to like not like fight against it, but sort of like deal with it. Like before I could kind of just be like, okay, well, people are just them and I'm me and it's okay. And now it's a bit different than that. Yeah.
You know, I don't know that I was ever like consciously aware of the dichotomy between what we were supposedly doing as women and what we were actually doing as women.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like sometimes I have such strong like emotions within myself that it's difficult for me to sort of understand what's actually going on. But I remember feeling so much like, wait, but this feels so backwards. But I think I was just so curious, like from a very early age, I was so curious about being part of a organization, because my parents were very anti-organization.
Oh, wow.
My parents were very anti any sort of stability.
Okay.
I don't know if it was like by design or that's just how the life worked out, but you know, I moved around a lot, and they weren't interested in religion or anything like that. And I remember going to church with my friend, and I'd be like, oh, this feels so safe and warm and fuzzy, and I don't agree with half of what you're saying here, but I'm willing to nod my head and go like, isn't this wonderful? You know?
Snuggle up. Totally. We want that, you know, we want family and safety and like coziness and belonging, of course. Yeah, totally. And I mean, that's pretty much what not only religion, but certainly religions and other organizations, like we're all like complete snowflakes. Like we know that every single being is like a totally unique manifestation of God, and yet we want to share and we want to connect and we want to collectivize our like worship and like our experiences and stuff. And so there ends up being all this like, okay, I don't really believe in that, or I don't feel the same about that, but I'm willing to come and nod my head anyway, like you said, and for that gift. And that's okay, you know, it's okay, but it's not okay if it's perpetuating some crazy ass shit that's hurting people. Then
right, which was the piece that I think we were maybe missing. In that. And some people weren't, you know, I've had conversations with people like, oh yeah, I knew about that for years. I'm like, really?
Wow.
So amazing. But yeah, I didn't. And
I wondered.
Yeah, and I think I was willing to sort of like not engage, you know, whereas there may have been conversations that I just for whatever reason was like, well, that's gossip, or that, I don't know.
Totally. Part of the culture. I remember when I went through teacher training, I didn't agree with a lot of the stuff, and I felt really weird about it, but it was that situation where like the gifts I was getting were so special that I was like, it's okay, I'm gonna keep going through it. And I had doubts about Yogi Bhajan, which I think many people did and do. And then I had a dream about him, and he was in this tent, like an actual like camping tent, and women were lined up outside of the tent and going in the tent. And I knew he was in there, and I couldn't see him or what was happening in the tent. And I just assumed he was having unhealthy sexual experiences with these women. And then eventually, I don't remember how, I guess I was in the line and I don't remember, but I was going into the tent and I went in, and actually what he was doing was washing their feet.
Huh.
He was washing all of their feet and blessing them. And at that moment, it gave me this peace where I was like, okay, like my mind could go there, that there could be something like some weird motive that he's got going on or something, but actually that's just like my mind kind of being whatever, making up stuff or like trying to protect, but actually really his highest prayer is like Guru Ramdas, it's like serving the feet of the saints, and I saw that and it kind of like quelled that any questions I had, because it was a very powerful dream. And I still think about it now in light of everything happening. I'm like, but no, there's no way that, like, yeah, he was doing all that stuff. Totally was.
But
and
that's good.
It's crazy.
Well, that's an interesting dream from what we know now too, because on a higher level, I mean, and it's like a soul being. That's every soul's motive, right? I mean, even if they're committing atrocities, they're pushing people to go through experiences that
Totally.
That's really, that's super interesting.
But then that's part of what do you do on the earth? You don't be like, okay, well, that's cool. Yeah, you can abuse people for the evolution of whatever. And
well, I think we tend, I think when we have those sorts of questions, we tend to look backwards, and we can't undo what he did.
Yeah.
We can educate people and empower them to make better choices moving forward.
Totally.
We can, teach our daughters that they are worthy of more than this. We can treat ourselves as if we're worthy than more of this, but like we can't do anything about what happened. I had a really interesting experience with him, because I heard about people having dreams about him and stuff, and I never had any sort of connection to him. I really didn't like him, honestly. Like, not for any good reason, but I was like, okay. I mean, grateful that I like this yoga, but not too into listening to him talk or anything like that. But I was in a breathwork session with my friend. She took me to this guy in Phoenix who was from Sedona. And I'm in the session and I'm having these like really weird, like tetany. I don't know if you've ever done it where like you're,
Mm-hmm.
And I was in such a good space from all the self-work I had done, that I knew it was all love. So I wasn't getting scared. And I got this message, and I could tell it was from Yogi Bhajan. This was before I knew about all this stuff too. And it was at a time where I was really conflicted, because I was in a marriage, someone, Heidi Mender, like, we were both highly invested. We took Amrit, we had like, quote unquote, committed, but yet I just wasn't feeling it anymore. And he said to me, this was, and I'm paraphrasing, but this was exactly where it was the perfect stepping stone for you in that moment. Because if I had told you that you were perfect, you wouldn't have believed me. I needed to tell you that you had all this work that you needed to do on yourself so that you could grow, you needed to think that you had all, these strides to make. And I felt so good after that class. I felt like he had kind of freed me. Like, I didn't have to think of this as like a prison that I had locked myself into for the rest of my life. It could be like, a nice, bridge along the way that I crossed,
Wow.
And I think about that a lot, because, and I never shared that on the podcast, but I think about him as like, I can relate to him in that higher level.
Yeah.
As a human being, not, that was not what was going on.
Yeah.
But, from like a, this is the soul that chose to incarnate in this fashion kind of way, Yeah.
Totally.
Very different.
Yeah.
Experiences.
and how to like hold those together and like yeah, receive the wisdom and the gifts and yeah, blessing of that, and then also like the lessons and how to act and what to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, and one of them is not to speak to people as if you know more than they do.
Yes.
Like because I felt like I really got that from teacher training. Like I was supposed to sit
Oh
on a
my
podium and tell people how it is, you know? And I was like, that I can't keep relating to people like this.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
I have to assume that they have something to give me too.
Yeah.
You know?
God, totally. Yeah. Yeah. It's yes. Yes and yes. Yeah.
Aw.
Really.
Well, thank you so much, so much for doing this and having this conversation with me. It was fun to catch up.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. And I feel like I kind of let myself talk because you were interviewing me, but in all honesty, either on or off the record, I'm like, I want to hear all about you and what's happening. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
why don't we say goodbye and we can chat for a little bit.
Okay. Sounds good.
Do you want to tell people how they can find you? Like how they can look up your music and
Sure. Yeah, you can. I mean, pretty much like you can for anyone. However you like to listen to music, you can find it there. So if you're a online streamer like Spotify, Apple Music, and all that stuff, just go to Bachan Kaur, so with a space in between, and then my website. You can buy or listen to my music on bachanmusic.com, and then also like art and music and all of that stuff is kind of a longer one, but humanbeing.com, but spelled with HUEMANBEING.
Okay, I'll have those in the
Cool.
description box.
Yeah.
And I totally remembered that hue thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll eventually I've been very offline for a while. So I'll eventually get to like back how I'm going to interact with that world and like get my art up and music, but for now I'm just kind of on snow day. On a snow day. A long extended snow day of creativity and contemplation and reflection.
I like that.
Yeah.
Of creativity and contemplation. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, and check out
Thank you.
Bachan everywhere that she is. Check out her artwork.
In the plants.
In the plants. All right. Bye.
Bye.